Hi, my name is Kathleen and I wrote this book, Loving Choices, Peaceful Passing, Why My Family Chose Hospice. And I wrote this book from a family member's point of view that I hope other families will read when they're facing end-of-life decisions with a loved one and they don't know what to do and they don't know where to turn, and it can be quite stressful. So I wanted to tell our family story. We were just an ordinary family, but we did take my father home where he died peacefully and not in an ICU or a hospital room. When my dad was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, he was given 4 weeks to live without treatment. At the end of the 3rd week of radiation, he was taken to the hospital from the oncology clinic in an ambulance because he was too weak to take the treatment. And when he got to the hospital, Dr. Archer came in and said to the family that Dad would need a stomach tube to continue the radiation. And none of us really thought that was a good idea, but we didn't know how to talk about it. And I had been manager of the Health Insurance Counseling and Advocacy Program, which is a program of the state of California, and I knew the hospice benefit well. But knowing something and being able to discuss it with my very ill, very miserable father are two very different things. So the next morning I called Dr. Archer's office and talked with him about the situation. And I told him that we didn't want to have the stomach tube, that Dad was miserable. He'd been ill for 2 years. He was nearly blind. He couldn't see the computer screen or the TV. He couldn't do yard work, which was his lifelong passion because he and Mom had been living in a retirement home. And on top of that, he had told me on a couple of occasions in no uncertain terms that he didn't want to live like this anymore. So Dr. Archer just kept saying back to me, he'll need a stomach tube to continue the radiation. So finally, I mentioned it myself. I said, we think it might be time for hospice. And Dr. Archer said, at this point, that's a good thing to consider. It's really best when the family decides. And I asked him to help us talk with our father about it. And he came to the hospital that evening, 5 o'clock, walked in the room. My mom and I were there. And he asked Dad how he was feeling. And Dad said, I feel like hell. Because that's what Dad said when he felt bad. I'm very sick, I'm miserable. And Dr. Archer said, Mr. Valley, we consider guys like you terminal. And I felt at that moment like the earth had stopped rotating. Everything just sort of stopped. And there was a pause, and then my father said, thank you, Dr. Archer. I've had a good long life, and I'm grateful. And it was from that moment that we focused on the rest of my dad's life. And it wasn't very long. He lived for 29 days in the hospice program, but we made the best of that time. We got closer as a family, and we weren't a close family. But we kept Dad comfortable, my sister and I, with the help of the hospice nurse and other hospice personnel. We kept him comfortable, and he passed away peacefully in his sleep in his own home. Again, the book is Loving Choices, Peaceful Passing, Why My Family Chose Hospice. You can get it anywhere books are sold online. And if you live in the Los Angeles metropolitan area, you can buy it at Roman's Bookstore in Pasadena. I hope you'll pick up a copy and give it a read.